With me now outside the courthouse, one of former President Trump's attorneys, Alina Habba. She is here supporting President Trump, but not representing him as part of the legal team in this case. You wait now. How is the president feeling? How are you feeling about this case in the hands of the jury?
I think it's business as usual. Nothing's really changed in terms of our perspective. Listening to the jury charges was concerning, to be honest. I think that they were, and it's been widely reported since we came out of the jury charges, that there is clearly any of the four underlying crimes that he could have done. They don't care what it was. The judge said basically all you have to do is figure out whether there was intent or not. And there has been no proof of that. But the judge gave a very, very generous bandwidth to the prosecution. And I think that's why the president's comments and sentiments are exactly accurate. You know, Mother Teresa really couldn't get out of this one, because if you say, you know, if you have intent for a scintilla of a second, and it could be for anything, for any one of these four things, taxes, campaign, all the things that frankly they showed no evidence of, but they gave them so much breadth that I have concerns.
Do you have faith, though, in fellow New Yorkers as a jury of your peers? I don't know that it's possible to find a jury of your peers for somebody like a former president, but faith in the system here and these New York jurors is now, his fate sits in their hands.
Shannon, I haven't had faith in the state of New York since I saw what they do to President Trump and started working for him. I'll be honest with you. What I've seen over the past few cases, what I've seen in some of the other cases in the state of New York, what I've seen with the coordination with DAs and AGs, and we have some information that's come out today, obviously, about judges' affiliations and other things like that. I mean, it's corrupt as can be. And unfortunately, the state of New York has failed its citizens. And we're seeing it time and time again, but it's failed its citizens for one party, and that's silencing the Republican Party. And it's not right. It's un-American. And frankly, at this point, you know, I've had enough angry sound bites in these courthouses now. I could say almost entire block. I was down there for 11 weeks. I was at another courthouse behind me for 3 weeks, and now I'm here. It's a disgrace to the American people, and we should all pray to save our country, frankly, at this point.
Well, do you think, though, that the jury can parse through that, can consider all of those things? They were told to quiet the outside noise, quiet the outside voices. But listen, the whole world is watching this. They're watching and waiting this jury. They must feel the pressure of that. And do you trust? We know there are at least two attorneys on the panel as well. Do you trust that they're going to work through this in a responsible manner, though?
You know, I don't think it matters what your profession is. I think that it's a good thing they're asking questions. It's a good thing they're trying to look at testimony, credibility. I think that's very important here. I think credibility is the one thing that they absolutely have shown that they have none of, from the top to the bottom, frankly. And if the jury considers that and discredits any testimony that was frankly false, then, and it all was, in my opinion, then we're going to be fine and we should get an acquittal. But we're in the state of New York. Like I said, the jury charges I thought were a bit unfair, very unfair, frankly. And President Trump is President Trump. And what they're doing really is not about books and records. It's a sideshow. It's a way to stop the American people from looking at President Biden's policies that are failing. It's a way from distracting. And if you look at what happened yesterday with Robert De Niro, that is a low state of our country. We've got a old-timer actor coming from California as a spokesperson for a campaign, the current administration running America. What a sad state of affairs. It is just pathetic.
Well, let me ask you this. It seems like, and President Trump, he predicted this when before the first indictment even happened here with Alvin Bragg more than a year ago. He said it would be good for him. He thought it has been in the polls. It has been in fundraising. So is there a net positive to him from this whole thing?
Well, if you want to look at it from a political standpoint, I think then, yeah, that's different. We have Americans, we have people that were Biden supporters. I can't imagine how or why, but they're now waking up and saying, whoa, this is not America. This is very un-American, and we can't survive another 4 years of this. So if you want to look at it that way, sure, but I don't think countries need to hit rock bottom. I don't understand why we couldn't have continued on an upward trajectory of American morals, of the Constitution. I'm not sure why we had to hit this low point, to be honest, but if that's what gets President Trump back in office.
But you know,
sure.
When you talk about things like morals, people will say, this is a case about a former president, somebody who was running for president, paying off a porn star who alleges that she had a relationship with him. I mean, that sparks a whole other conversation about morality, who's running the country. Obviously, voters in 2016, it was not a problem, or they factored in what they knew about the Access Hollywood tape and other things, and they were comfortable sending President Trump to the White House. Yeah. They've had had 4 years to think about the way he performed, now 4 years of President Biden. But some of them will always now have this vision with President Trump that these kinds of dramas and things will be just part of his package, part of what comes with him as president.
It's called extortion. Extortion is something that happens with people when they are powerful, when they are strong-voiced, and when people listen to them. It is a natural consequence of being a very effective human being in this unfortunate culture that we have. It is litigious. That is what America has become. And Joe Biden, unfortunately, can't really do anything in office, so he's got to use the same means as somebody who's just trying to have a quick slip and fall and make money. And that is frankly what we're seeing right now. This is exactly a Biden show because he's got to distract the American people. Listen.
But the Biden administration's not responsible for this trial.
How can you say the Biden administration's not responsible for this trial?
It's a state trial. It's Alvin Bragg. Whether you think there's a political motive for him, it's not connected to the DOJ. I mean,
Shannon,
the feds passed on these election charges.
Shannon, you should look at how many logs they have of state officials, Letitia James, Fani Willis, visiting the White House, and then tell me that this is not a Biden trial. I don't care.
The feds pass on this case is the point I'm making.
Right. The feds passed on this case. Also, DA Cy Vance passed on this case. And
years ago, and then it came back.
And Bragg passed on this case. You know when it came back? When he decided to run for office. So tell me how that's not an indication that Joe Biden, who just sent his campaign down here with Robert De Niro yesterday, isn't a part of this. Frankly, any question that we had of that was squashed yesterday. And if you have even more concerns about whether he's involved in this, look at the fact that he is publicizing, literally publicizing, for tonight to have a speech if a verdict comes out. That's a sad state of affairs. Meanwhile, our country is falling apart. He's got bigger fish to fry.
Do you not think, though, that any president would want to weigh in on something that's this historic, a former president, his predecessor, whatever the verdict or decision may be?
I wish that Biden had that same sentiment about the border, fentanyl, and our children being mutilated. I would prefer that he would focus on the real things instead of trying to attack his political opponent, who he just cannot beat.
Well, we'll see what the jury does and how quickly they do it. Alina, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.